Welcome back, everybody, to Outdoor Power Tech. Today we got a pressure washer in here, Honda pressure washer, and it come in with a couple other items from Amanda I'm doing some service work with, and we've had quite a few other mores come through the shop. It's just that time of year, a little warmth come through to our area, and people's wanting to get their stuff serviced. But this pressure washer it's a non-start. Typically what happens with these pressure washers is it's one of them items that just sits for a while and is not used very often. And if that's your case, if it's something you just used once or twice and you put up and it won't crank, then this is the video for you. If it's a pressure washer that you're using for business and you're using it all the time, every single month, and you're starting to have a non-start issue, it could be a carburetor issue, which we're going to address on this video, but it could be also another issue with your coil might be going bad on it, or a number of other issues. But this guy bought this older gentleman. He bought this new, used it, I think he said once or twice. I think he said last year, I believe, and just stored it, and he went to try using it again after about 8 months, he said. It's been sitting, and he tried to use it, wouldn't crank. So I know this is a carburetor issue, and 99% of the time this is going to be the issue that y'all going to be facing, especially if it's been sitting for a long time, and or if you buy one off Craigslist and it's been sitting for a long time, this will be the first thing I try to tackle first. But we'll go through the steps on how to pull this carburetor off and get it cleaned out, and we'll get it up and running. I'll be back with you in a minute when I got the camera on the stand. All right, got it set up here. First thing you're gonna need is a socket, a 10mm socket, cause most of the stuff on here is gonna be 10mm. Probably everything's gonna be a 10mm. And what we're gonna have to drain this tank. So you can take off, there's 3 nuts up here on the flywheel housing right here. You can take those 3 off and this cover comes off, and you can take this gas tank out and dump it out and clean it out. I done looked in the gas tank. The gas looks okay. It's not gummy. It has no resin built up in it or anything like that. He does run non-ethanol fuel in this thing. Which makes me question if he does with it having this issue. But either way, I'm gonna go ahead and drain it out through the hose here maybe. But first thing we wanna do is take off your air filter cover right here. And as you can see from what he told me, it hasn't been used that much at all. And the air filter looks new on it. And it is a non-running engine. I can show you right now. Let's turn this on. It's not good to run engines, pressure washer engines, without the water hooked up, but it's not going to crank up and run. So I just going to let y'all see. You got the choke out. It is on the on position. As you can see. And the way you can check for spark, also if you don't have a spark test or don't have anybody hold a spark plug, if this is the issue with you that's been sitting for a while and you just want to make sure it is a carburetor issue that's keeping it from firing up, you can turn your choke off and spray just a little bit of brake clean in there, close your carburetor, and I'm going to crank this, and if it fires I'm going to turn it off real fast. So hopefully you can see this in action. Okay, so see it fired up. So we do have a carburetor issue. It's when these come in my shop, 99% of the time it's a carburetor issue because it's been sitting for a long time, just like generators. Come summertime, people's wanting to use their pressure washers, and it's been sitting all winter, and they start coming in my shop because they've been sitting with bad gas in it, and it's just gummed up the carburetor, just like generators. People don't use their generators. Your regular residential homeowner, they just store a generator, and then a storm is calling for a bad storm or hurricane comes through, and they all get their generators out to run. They don't run, and they make their way to my shop. So, but let me get you set up over here so you can see. Just give me 1 minute. I'll be back with you in a second. Okay, we got two 10mm bolts right here that you're gonna want to pull off. Now the carburetor, this goes completely through the carburetor, so you got to kind of hold everything together, which is, oh, one second, let me turn off the heater real quick. Which is why it's a little harder to work on Honda engines, especially for somebody that's never done it before, versus Briggs. Because Briggs, their carburetors bolt to the engine, and then the housing bolts, your air filter housing right here bolts to the carburetor. But we'll get these two out right here. And there's a lot of gaskets behind here. Sometimes everything stays stuck together, which I hope that's the issue here with this being newer. So I'm just, as you can see, I'm holding this with my hand. The air filter box right here. We're gonna pull that bolt out, and we're gonna pull this bolt out. Just like this, okay? And I already feel the carburetor behind it. I had these two fingers back here holding the bottom of the carburetor, so I felt it was loose. Okay, let's see here. And this should just pull right off. And you do have a hose right here. You see this hose right here? It connects right here. That's your breather hose for your crankcase. And it connects in there. So when we put this back on, you're gonna want to slide it on and hold this breather tube with your finger also, and make sure that that lines up and goes on there. It's real tricky with this stuff. Okay, make sure it chokes. I'll do the choke off like that. Okay, the carburetor is loose. Let's see here, the gas is off. Let's see here if I can show y'all. Let me, you can take this off if you want to. I'm gonna do that just to make it easier so y'all can see. But there's a gas line that we got to disconnect from the carburetor also. And you don't have to do this step. You can just disconnect the gas line from it. But as you see, I do this without disconnecting this. As you see right here, we got a gas line and it has a hose clamp on it. So we're gonna get our needle nose pliers or flat nose pliers, whichever one. I wanna use both because we're gonna have to pry that off. Take your clip off right here. Sometimes you have to wiggle them off. Don't be too violent with it because you don't want to pinch your gas line. Okay, can y'all see what I'm doing? And then I usually get my needle nose pliers and get as close to the carburetor as possible and just wedge it between the gas line and the carburetor and then pull off. Pry it off like that. And there we go. That's off. Okay, now the way they have these linkages set up on here, you can just turn your carburetor. Let me get y'all over here so y'all can see this a little better. Okay, you see these linkages right here, this one and this one, they have a Z-bend in it that goes down in here and then comes out towards you. So you can just take the whole carburetor, hold these two right here like this. Now I've been doing this for years, guys, and I can do this way faster while I'm doing this on camera. Go ahead and pull out your spring right here. That's in that little hole. Don't bend it, okay? Because we'll want that to go back in there. All right, you get your carburetor, pull up on these two so the Z-bends are up. and then pivot your carburetor forward like that, and it'll come off. You see the Z-bends right there? And when we put it back on, you'll put that Z-bend in this one, and this in this one, and then we'll pivot it back around like that, okay? All right. All right, luckily, our manifold block stayed stuck to here. If it doesn't, it's okay. There's a gasket behind here, and when you put this back on, you'll want gasket, manifold, gasket, carburetor. And this is the gasket that's on the carburetor. It's big like this. And you'll want to get them in that order, okay? All right, let's get to the bench and see what's going on with this carburetor. Okay, we're gonna need a 10 millimeter. I'm gonna try doing this so my hand's not in the way for y'all. So, right, here's a carburetor. We're gonna take this 10 millimeter bolt off right here. And gas is gonna pour out of here unless it's that dried up. So I'm gonna do this right here and catch it in this container right here. And it is that dried up. Okay. Hopefully we just got a stuck needle on here and won't have to do much cleaning. But okay, so let's do this. Zoom in a little bit so we can see how much stuff's messed up in here. All right, and we're gonna want to get this bowl off of here, and you can use a rubber end of a hammer and just tap like that. Okay, so we don't look that bad inside. I mean, it is bad, but it's not that bad. You see all that build up in there? So evidently he did run non-ethanol gas in here, because if he would have ran ethanol gas in here, this would have looked like syrup, like maple syrup in here, stuck all over everything. So he did do good there. So, and that's just powder. We'll get that cleaned up. Go ahead and get this cleaned up. You want this to look really, really nice and shiny. So I'm just gonna put it over here in that little container that I catch my bad gas in, and I used to catch stuff when I'm spraying my carb cleaner. Okay, so now what we got here is our floating needle. You can go ahead and pull that off if you want to. I'm going to, because I'm going to be cleaning on this and inspect all this. That looks good. If there's any buildup on your float of anything, you're going to want to get that washed off of it, okay? Get this really, really clean so it looks like this. And then our needle. The needle looks good too. So now I know from my experience that what's going on is that one of the jets is clogged up on it. Okay, unless he was trying to crank it without the gas on. That could be the issue here too, which if that's the case, I'm gonna go ahead and walk y'all through. The gas is bad in that. I done smelt it and it was really, really bad. I'm gonna go ahead and walk y'all through cleaning this, and then we'll get it cranked up. So, all right, what you got is a little tiny needle in here. Not needle, a little jet. Right there, you see that little jet right there? You're gonna want to unscrew it. I'm pretty positive that's what's going on here. He didn't turn the gas on. Either way, I'm gonna walk y'all through getting this cleaned out, okay? We're gonna pull this jet out. And I got a special tool here that I use to get the jet out, but you can use a straight screwdriver. Just be careful, because you can strip this brass jet. See if I can get this to fall down in there. All right, I'm unscrewing this. I should have turned that gas on, but the gas is bad, and I would have had to pull the carburetor off anyways. It's just one of those things I do when they do come in my shop. I go ahead and pull the carburetor off and make sure that's not the issue. So you want to pull that jet out. and sometimes it won't come out. And what I do is this, in this little tiny hole right here, your pin right here that goes through your float, what I do is I stick it inside this hole right here and push down with my thumb and kind of pivot it up like this. And then I use my screwdriver and do like this to screw it out the rest of the way. What it's doing is giving those threads something to grip onto, because there's a point in this, there's a point in here where there's no threads and it doesn't want to screw out. Yeah, and that's exactly what's going on right now. Sometimes you can, this works every time. Yeah, she's unscrewing now. See it coming out? Okay. And if you have to get you like a little nail, sometimes that works really good. Yeah, see, there we go. I don't know why it wasn't coming out me doing that trick, because that's how I always do it. All right, we got a jet there. We got a small jet right here. And it is open. I'm still going to clean that, because I want to make sure when this goes out of my shop that if it does act up again on him, I know for a fact that this is not the issue. Okay, if you can see down in here, you see that round brass tube sticking up in the middle? You just want to get a screwdriver like this. I know it's dark, guys. I don't have nobody here to hold a light for me. And you just want to push down on that tube, like so. And sometimes I just tap until it falls out, like that, okay? So, and this is our emulsion tube. You're gonna want to clean this really, really good. And with, if y'all don't have any cleaning tools, you can use a tie off of a bread tie like this. Just strip it down to where it's all metal like this, and clean out all your little holes in here like this, okay? All this stuff looks good. I think though, this guy's in his 80s. I think he just didn't turn the gas on. But either way, if he would have turned the gas on and tried to crank it, it wasn't gonna crank anyways, because the gas is old and it's been sitting for so long. I mean, just all that debris in the bottom of the bowl tells me that it had been sitting a long time, long enough that that gas evaporated and turned to dust in the bottom. So either way, he would have had this issue. He would have just turned the gas on, it would have been bad gas. He would have tried to crank it with choke, and it would have sucked up all those particles into these jets. So we're gonna get all this stuff clean. Make sure it's clean down through there. Also, there's a hole here. See, make sure all that's clean. Just whatever you do, make sure you don't waller out any of these holes. They need to be the exact same size that they are now. Okay, so we're gonna get that in a solution of soap. And then another thing that you're gonna want to check right here. This is where your idle circuit is. So I'm gonna clean this off with some brake clean, and let's get that out. That is a Phillips. I'll get that unscrewed for y'all. Don't lose that. Okay, and there is a little, sometimes there's a plastic jet that goes down in here that controls your idle air. but this just has a jet inside it right there. You're gonna want to clean that hole out in there too with your little zip tie, or not zip tie, your bread tie. Get that cleaned out real good with that, okay? So I'm gonna get all this stuff cleaned out real good. Make sure everything's good and clean. Yeah. Now it doesn't push all the way down in there. So just get all that cleaned out of debris, and then you can get some cleaner like this, wear safety goggles, and put it down in this hole right here. And then when you spray, you should see it come out somewhere. Yeah, okay, see, it's dripping out the bottom. So we got that good and clean. All right, I'm gonna get this carburetor good and clean and get it back together. And I'll be back with you when we put it back on the machine. I'm getting this put back together, guys, and I wanted you to see this emulsion tube. You see how it has a little nipple on that side, and then this one has a longer nipple. This is what goes down into the carburetor with a little nipple sticking up, because this one is what sticks up into your carburetor right here and into the mouth of your carburetor. So you just put that back down in there like so, just drop it in there. And then this jet right here, it goes in like this with the screw head facing upwards, so you can screw it in. Just drop that back in, and it will stop right there at the very top. And then you just want to get your screwdriver, gently push it, let it just fall down naturally. Don't let it go sideways or anything. Don't let it cross thread. This is brass, so it can easily get hung up. You can easily strip out the top of the head on it and just screw it down till it's snug. And that's it. Do not put a lot of pressure on it. Just finger tight, okay? All right, we're back, and I'm gonna go ahead and drain this gas out of here. You didn't have to take this whole bracket off. I did just so you could see it. There was a gas line hooked to the back of that carburetor. You could get up from underneath here and pull that gas line off. So, but I'm gonna go ahead and get this gas line. I'm gonna put it into a mason jar right here. And I'm gonna turn the gas on. And go ahead and get all this bad gas drained out of here. Once it's drained, I'll be back with you. Okay, we're back. All right, so now let's get our carburetor. We're gonna get, this is your choke. No, I'm wrong. This goes to your governor. This is your throttle control. It's gonna go in there like so. See, like, let me see. Trying to do this so y'all can see. You're gonna go in this second hole right here. It goes like that and then pivots up, okay? That first hole, you're gonna want to put your spring in. And it's very important that you put a spring in. If the tip breaks off of it, bend a new tip on it. This keeps a constant tension on this so you don't have your engine surging. Do this way. There we go. All right. Now we're gonna put this one up to here, and it goes in this hole, not this one. It goes in this hole. Same thing. All right, they both hooked up. Get that hose out of the way. All right, now you're gonna want to hook your gas line back up. So we're gonna hook that up. Just slide it on, and then put your clip back on. I know y'all can't see this, it's in a bad spot. Put your hose clamp back on. Slide up on there and don't cut your wire. Okay, so here's your manifold right here. If it's still stuck on here, that's good for us. Easy peasy. If not, what you're gonna want to do is, this is how I do it anyways to make it easy. Put your bolts back in your air filter box like this. See, they're both in here. And they're sticking out the back. Put it in the bracket right here. Put it in this bracket. Then slide them through your carburetor. Like that, to where they point out the back like that, okay? And then you're gonna want to, let's see here, where did this thing go? That's going to have to go behind that, okay. You're gonna want to hold your breather tube right here. See the breather tube? You're gonna hold it and push it into, connect it to your air box. And then holding the carburetor on and holding your two bolts with your fingers here in the front. See, I'm holding it right here. You're gonna want to put these back up into your manifold right here where those two holes are. Okay, all that's hooked up. We're gonna want to get these just a little bit snug. Just get them screwed in a little bit so it holds this whole assembly together. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and put this bolt back in right here to hold this bracket back on. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this one down. I don't take that bracket off. And I've done said that already, but. And before you tighten these down, pull on your choke. I'm pulling on my choke and it's sliding smooth, just so we can make sure there's nothing bound up. See, pulling, choke's working fine. And you can even look in here and see if the flap's moving. Before you tighten it up, make sure you have everything lined up, everything looks good. Make sure your breather hose is connected up right. And if you have to use a flashlight, you can use a flashlight. And the breather hose did come off. So what you can do is with the flashlight, look back here and grab it with your right hand underneath like I am right now. And just slide it back on. That's why I don't tighten it down all the way. All right, it slid back on. Now we can tighten this up. Just do one side at a time, so you know everything goes on right. And just go snug. You don't want to go crazy with it. Make sure your choke still works. All right, we good to go. We're gonna put the air filter back on here, which is clean, it's good. Because the guy hadn't ran it that much. I done checked the oil. The oil looks brand new. I changed that and spark plug too while it was in my shop. But this guy just bought this last year, he said. And didn't use it a couple times. Okay, I'm gonna get gas in here. And I'm gonna get this outside and hooked up to the hose pipe. And we're gonna crank it up and see if it runs. All right, guys, we're back. I got gas in it. We about to hook the hose pipe up to it. I was gonna say this. If you do all that and you put gas in and it starts leaking gas out of your carburetor, which will come through your air filter, your needle and seat's bad on it and needs to be fixed or cleaned again, okay? If you do all that and everything's squeaky clean and it still won't run, but if you spray something in the carburetor, it fires and tries to crank up, you're gonna have to just buy a new carburetor, because that air idle circuit that I told you about, there's a Welch plug near it, and you can't get that cleaned out. When stuff builds up in there, there's no way to clean it out. So you might as well just buy a new carburetor and put a new carburetor on it. All right, let's get the hose pipe hooked up, and hopefully I already got it on. I'm gonna put it on choke, and I'm gonna turn it to on, hook the hose pipe up. We're gonna see if it'll crank up. He's gonna need a new washer on that, because that's gonna leak. Put the gas cap back on. There you have it, guys. She's up and running. She was running a little rough there at the beginning, but I think it might have been because it had a little bit of old gas still left just in that gas line that went into it. But yep, good to go. She's running, and I hope this helps somebody out. Until next time, we'll see you.